Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the 5 worst boss fights in the Batman Arkham series. Before we get into it, I just want to state, as always, this is just my opinion, so if I say one on here you disagree with, or even one that you love, it's one of your favorites, please don't get, offended or upset by it. This is just how I see the boss fights, and I could be missing something, so 100% let me know if you don't agree with one of my takes. Alright, so heading straight into number 5, I actually have a Deadshot from Batman Arkham City. Now, the reason I have this at number 5 is because this isn't really a boss fight that much, but it's set up as if it will be one. And as I said, if this is 100% a boss fight, and I know, and it was there was some type of gameplay, this would 100% probably be number 1 as the worst. But the reason I have it as the 5th worst, as I said, is because I think it isn't really meant to be a boss fight. Of course, it is a side mission, it's not a main part of the game, which again is why it's not lower on the list, or I guess you should say higher on the list, but the side mission is very intriguing. Of course, you're going around Arkham City finding all the people he shot, but then when you actually find him, all you do is sneak up on him and take him down, which of course is really boring. There's not really any stealth that much to it, because as we'll see later in the Origins boss fight, it's more of a stealth section, whereas in this one, again, it is stealth, but you just sneak under him and take him down. It's very, very easy, very, very simple, and it was a very disappointing ending to a really good side mission in Arkham City, which most side missions in that game are pretty good. So, of course, I wanted a really good, fulfilling ending to this one, and unfortunately, we just didn't really get it here. But again, not going to put it any lower down on this list because I don't really know whether we'll count it as an actual boss fight. And all the ones lower than this definitely are boss fights, and they're terrible. Alright, I've talked a lot about this boss fight, so I don't want to spend too long on it on this video, but it's Bane from Arkham Asylum. This one, I hope to never talk about this boss fight again. I mention it so much in all my other videos, but this boss fight is terrible. It plays exactly like every other boss fight in Asylum when it came to the Titans. There was only like 3 or 4 maybe unique boss fights in the game. Even the final boss, which we'll actually be talking about later in the video, is just basically a Titan enemy but with slightly different gameplay. This one, as I've said so many times before, it doesn't match Bane as a character. It fits him in this game, but as a character overall it doesn't work. The fight just doesn't fit his character, and it feels weird that he's like running over like people that work for Joker. I mean, it sort of makes sense, but it's just a very strange fight in my opinion, and he should have had a unique fight. Like, he shouldn't have shared a sort of like a moveset with the Titans. Of course, he has unique things like ripping chunks out of the wall and things like that, but throwing a batarang at his head is literally all it takes to stop him. So again, just a very, very simple, watered-down fight. A little bit more added onto it to make him seem more like Bane instead of a regular Titan. But in my opinion, it wasn't enough, and it is still a very weak fight in the series. However, as we've mentioned before, Asylum's boss fights were a late inclusion, which is why I don't really want to say it's the worst one in the series, because that would be a little unfair. Alright, now next up, this one, I feel a little unfair putting it here, but I have to, and it's the prototype Titan from Arkham Asylum. This one was our introduction to boss fights. It was technically the first boss fight in the whole series. The reason I think this one's not good is because, one, it sets up the whole Titan thing, which I'm not a massive fan of. I know most people aren't. And this one, at least with all the other ones, you have to beat them, whereas this one's actually timed. So if you just keep dodging him without hitting him, eventually he'll have his sort of heart attack thing and the fight will be over and you don't really need to do anything, which of course it's a game, right? It's a boss fight, you should have to do something. So for me, this one was just pretty lazy. I think Titans overall were pretty lazy. So again, that's basically the only reason I have this here, is because it's set up the whole Titan boss fight. And I know that's not massively fair, but it is a very boring boss fight, easily the most forgettable one in the game, which I know isn't saying much because most of it is Titan fights, but this one easily is the most simple, and there's no real gimmick thrown in to make it more interesting. There's no enemies. There's nothing unique about it, so that is why I have it at number 3. Now, I hate to be coming after Asylum so much, but this game really didn't have good boss fights. So at number 2, this boss fight is so bad. It is actually the Titan Joker, the final boss fight of the game. This one blows so much dick. It is so bad. I don't have I don't have much to say about this one. I know I say that about most of all the other, entries in this video, and most of my videos really, because this one's just not good, and it's a very weird ending. A lot of people don't think it's character fitting, and that's 100% valid. And some people as well don't think it fits the story. And again, I agree. Now, this whole story, of course, was about Titan, technically speaking, so it makes sense, but why would Joker do it, right? And I've seen some people saying they'd want Batman to not use the antidote and be massive himself, so we could have like a fight with like massive Batman against massive Joker. And even though, that sounds unique and very different, that would be even less fitting for a Batman story, in my opinion. Now, I know some crazy shit goes down in Batman stories, but that would be a little too weird of an ending, especially the whole build-up that the game had. I find it wouldn't work if that was the ending. In saying that, they definitely shouldn't have made that the ending boss fight, because, as I mentioned before, it's very similar to the Titan fights. It's different in terms of how it plays, but he's incredibly stupid. You like wallop on him, and then he gets up, like talks to a helicopter, and then you just beat his ass again. Like, it's completely stupid. Joker is not a moron. Like, it just makes no sense character-wise and gameplay-wise. The final fight should be some sort of test of everything you've been through in the game, but it's literally a boss fight you could put 30-40 minutes into the game and someone could pass. So very anticlimactic. They're just lucky that the end of the game was very strong and the ending cutscenes were pretty good, because if the game ended as soon as that boss fight was done, it'd be a very underwhelming end to such an amazing game. Alright, now my least favourite in the whole series is 100% the Arkham Knight Cloudburst fight. I cannot stand this shit. Every time I've replayed Arkham Knight, this is the thing I dread the most, and I hate the tank stealth in this game. I hate it. But when it's a full-on boss fight, I want to shoot myself. It is so bad. And at least with all the other stealth ones, they weren't technically boss fights, and they weren't against like a massive tank. With all the other ones, they were against sort of smaller tanks, ones that can be taken down in like a shot. But this one, you have to land like multiple shots in exact areas, and it's not massively difficult. It's just so boring, and it's just not good game design, in my opinion. And unfortunately, this game, as well as Asylum, in my opinion, have the weakest boss fights, even though, not Origins, even though Knight only appear once on this list. I do think it has maybe not the worst boss fights, but maybe the most disappointing in the series. But that being said, everyone, that's actually it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my list. Consider subscribing. Thank you for all of your support, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, everyone.